Yes, so I'm sitting at Stanford University. I'm a research associate, I have my lab there, and I get a call, and somebody said, there's this group at Google that is really interested in understanding more about meditation and science, and they want to develop a program, but they really need a scientist who understands meditation and research methods. And they said, would you be willing to talk to them? And I said, sure. So I went and I met this wonderful group at Google, very alive and very curious and fun, free thinking. And then they asked if I would give a couple of talks, Google Tech talks, which I did. One about emotion and neuroscience, and then another one more about emotion regulation, mindfulness practice. And then we began collectively creating and deepening both sequences of practices, contemplative practices, in this Search Inside Yourself program, which is also known, which is a pun on the search engine, right, which is externally. So instead, you refocus it internally, hence search inside yourself. And it was a mindfulness-based emotional intelligence leadership program. And it surged in amongst all the different offerings at Google to be one of the most popular courses because people were very interested in trying to understand emotion, meditation, how to work with other people, how to listen, and how to feed back skillfully, mindfully to others. And then that program, with the blessing of the lawyers at Google, we were given permission to take it out of Google for free, no cost. And in San Francisco developed the Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute, which is still there now and has trained, well more than 1,000 people all over the planet to deliver this program for the benefit of others. Thinking about future research and ways of studying, the implementation of different Buddhist practices, one of the things that's curious, there's several lines. One is, are there ways of actually helping young minds, be they students, teenagers, or even younger, like middle school students, how to skillfully empower teachers to train students in social, emotional, ethical learning, being able to use words, to express their emotions, to deal with conflict. That's a very interesting to work with young minds. On the other side, to work with youth, and specifically men, and this has always been something I've been curious about, which is that men have such need to learn how to express their emotions. And they even need just basic languaging and often just simple skills in how to relate to another person. Women appear to be, on average, more developed verbally, emotionally, even conceptually across the lifespan. But I think that one place where we can have a huge impact is helping young men be more confident in how to relate to others, how to ask, how to listen, how to understand and pay attention, and thereby feel more at ease. Because a lot of young men have a lot of distress around social interactions, or being caught by macho, or caught by like the tribe mentality, when in fact that's often undermining their own well-being. I've done a couple of studies on feeding your demons, which is a very interesting practice. You can think of it as, it's derived from the Tibetan Buddhist chud, to cut or to sever, to cut through ignorance or illusion. That's a very interesting practice. And the Lama Tsultrim Leone has created this feeding your demons simpler version that has 5 steps. And we've done some research on that, but I really want to do more work on understanding how all that kind of emotion processing, visualization, imagining, projecting out intentionally one's own inner mind as a demon and then transforming it into a protector, how that actually prepares the mind to release all of those emotion, thinking, language, logic, and drop into like pure awareness meditation. That's very interesting. Like that whole preparatory emotion processing, releasing, and then what is the depth and what's the impact of that on rikpa, or like pure awareness practice. That's something I definitely would like to study more.